This is your host, Dub FFG, your fantasy football GOAT strategies. How's it going today? Today, we're going to talk about week 9. Let's get to it. Now, as always, you know we love when you hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. It really helps us out. It really helps support our sponsors as well. Now, let's go. First up, the week 8 recap. Now, the Lions, they roared. They did their thing on Monday night against the Raiders. They really just controlled the game from start to finish. The Raiders defense had some bright spots, but the Raiders themselves, that was a little bit of a mess. So much so that they cleaned house, but we'll talk about that later. Also in week 8, the Jags downed the Steelers. The Jags are on a roll. They went on the road, technically 3 weeks in a row, or 3 out of the last 4 weeks by 2 of them being overseas, and they've won. So the Jags have found their rhythm, and the Jags are doing their thing from Etienne to the quarterback Lawrence, even Calvin Ridley. He's had some ups and downs, but he's still an integral part of that team. So the Jags, look out for them to make some noise in the playoffs. The Chargers, Sunday night game, they did their thing as well. They outshined the Bears. No real surprise there, but the Chargers are still trying to find their rhythm consistently, and they'll get it. Now, week 9, the must-starts, or hot reads as we call them. First, you got Kareem Hunt versus the Cardinals, Derek Carr versus the Bears, Davante Adams versus the Giants, and Jordan Love versus the Rams. Now, Davante Adams has a new quarterback that's going to start and throwing the ball, but they're playing the Giants. The Giants defense has some shiny points or some shiny toys to play with, but they're just not a complete team. So the Raiders should be able to beat them, and Davante Adams should eat very well. Here's a word from our sponsors. Question: is your NFL team winning the Super Bowl this season? If so, then you better get your new gear for the new season. NFL Shop is providing with your new favorite team's apparel this season. Use the link below or scan the QR code to see a huge inventory of NFL teams' apparel. Discount codes will be available throughout the season, so use the link. Shop now. Also for week 9, we're looking at Dak Prescott versus the Eagles, Josh Jacobs versus the Giants, Breece Hall versus the Chargers, and the Browns defense versus the Cardinals. Now, you may look at it and say, Dak Prescott versus the Eagles? Yes, Dak Prescott versus the Eagles, because Dak has a good record against the Eagles. He normally shines against the Eagles. The Eagles have pretty much had a tough defense since Dak has been there, but Dak has still shined against them. So, play Dak and expect big things from Dak. Josh Jacobs, again, with the Raiders, a little bit of a mess, but they're playing the Giants, so this could be a get-right game for the Raiders overall. Davante Adams, Josh Jacobs, and maybe even their quarterback may get some good love in there too, maybe with a touchdown or 2 that can help them out. So, Prescott, Jacobs, Hall, the Browns defense against the Cardinals. Yeah, set your lineup and expect big things. Now, the projections for week 9. Your rosters by now should be filled. Again, your core should be there. Now you're just making adjustments. If you're winning, if you're above 500, if you've only lost 1 or 2 games or no games, you're sitting pretty. But as always, like a good investor with his stock, and his stock is rising and is a high value stock, he still looks at his stock daily or weekly, and he makes minimal adjustments. So that's where you are if you're in a good shape and above 500, well over 500. But if you're below 500 or right at 500, yeah, you're looking at the market a little bit closer and a little bit more frequent. That's fine. No problem. But you have 6 weeks, including week 9, before the playoffs. So you have 6 weeks to get right, as we say. And get right you must. There are some changes that came about from week 8 that are carry on to week 9. And that is because of the trade deadline. One, you're looking at Joshua Dobbs is now the new quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. And Joshua was just the starting quarterback for the Cardinals. So that was kind of I'm not going to say weird change, but somewhat surprising change. Even though Kyler Murray's coming back for the Cardinals, Dobbs still did a pretty good job for the Cardinals. So that deal for the Vikings had to be pretty sweet to the ear when they were negotiating the trade. Also, you have Taylor Heinicke now starting for Desmond Ridder in Atlanta. Now, we don't know if this is just for this week or this is for the remainder of the schedule. We don't know. Ridder's been struggling lately with some turnovers, and Taylor Heinicke's come in and kept the flow of the game going, even though the Falcons lost this past week. But he was kept the offense moving for the Falcons, and that's what they need right now. As for the Raiders, man, what do you say? The Raiders clean house. So they clean house by firing the coach, firing the GM, and benching Jimmy G and starting the rookie Aiden O'Connell. So these are big moves that they needed to make, and somewhat similar to fantasy. If you're down below 500 very badly, you probably need to make those changes too. Again, as I mentioned in previous videos, you may have to trade a stud or two to get a complete or balanced team. That's what you're looking for, because again, as I mentioned, you only have 6 weeks or 6 games till the playoffs. And if you want to be in them, you need to have a complete team, particularly by now. So week 9, complete to compete. And 2 big games this weekend can help you skyrocket up the scoreboard this week. And that is the Dolphins versus the Chiefs in Germany. That air raid is going to invade the Germans. And Cowboys versus the Eagles. Play those skilled players. Those should be close games. Could be defensive games as well. So even though like the Dolphins has a high-powered offense, the Chiefs defense is pretty good. They've been pretty good for a while. And the Cowboys and Eagles both have good defense, but they also both have good skill players. So look for a close game, but look for the Dolphins to pull off a win outright. I think the Chiefs are favored right now today by 1.5. And then Cowboys Eagles game, I believe the Eagles are favored by 3 points right now, -3. But look for both the Dolphins and the Cowboys to win those games outright. But they will be close, or they should be close. So again, week 9, complete to compete. Get your roster together. This is Dub FFG, Fantasy Football GOAT Strategist. Till next time, we'll see you soon. When you look in the mirror, do you see a GOAT? Are you the best that fantasy football has to offer? If so, then wear it on your chest. Fantasy Football GOAT Strategies has new arrivals for the new fantasy season. See the link in the description or scan the QR code. Pick up your gear now. Fantasy Football GOAT Strategies.